y1 equals m times bracket x minus x1. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Add it to your index card. I would call it to find the equation of a line. It's up on my wall. It's the second orange sheet. So now we've gone through what should have been the 3 yellow sheets, except slope fell down. 3 yellow sheets and the 2 orange sheets. So those first 4 that are up there are all from this unit. Take a look at the slope formula you have on your card and take a look at this. How are they the same? They both have y minus y. They both have m. They both have x minus x. All it is, if I were to divide by this x minus x, that's slope formula. So all we did is we took the bottom of that fraction and multiplied it to the other side. That's it. It's the exact same formula as slope. So why do we use this, or when do we use this? Take a look at the examples. Example 1, find equation of a line. Example 2, find equation of a line. Example 3, find the equation of a line. Do you see a familiar theme to these questions? Equation of a line, equation of a line, equation of a line. So when the question says find the equation of a line, this is the formula that you're going to use. Method, step 1. Find m. And 95% of the time we're going to use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Step 2 I'm putting right beside. Use m and a given point. Use m and a given point, and substitute into y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Step number 3, isolate y. That's it. Same 3 steps every single time we're going to use for these questions. We're going to find m. Usually it's with the slope formula. I'll show you the exceptions in a second. Then we use that value in one of the given points, substitute into our new equation from today, and then we get y by itself. Grab paper, equation of a line. You've pillaged all my paper. There's none up there. Step number 1 is what you practiced on Thursday, and it's just finding m. M is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we talked about with distance and midpoint, same with slope, is don't get too caught up with these subscripts. It just means the second y minus the first y, divide by the second x minus the first x. It's just your rise over your run. So the second y value is -4. The first y value is 2. The second x value is 3. And the first x value is -1. We simplify the top, and then we simplify the bottom, and then we simplify the fraction if we can. So on the top we have -4, -2. negative 6. On the bottom in the middle, we have this negative negative, which becomes positive, so 3 plus 1, 4. And then just always reduce or simplify if you can. Can we reduce 6 and 4? By what? Negative 3 over 2. Okay, so that's the m value. Step number 2, I'm going to split the page because I'm actually going to show you 2 different ways just to show you it's going to be the same and it doesn't matter which way we do it. Step 2 is this new equation, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, which is just the slope formula, just looking a little bit different. And the reason we don't have the superscripts of 2 is because we're only going to replace 3 things. We're going to replace y1, we're going to replace m, and we're going to replace x1. Y without a subscript and x without a subscript are just going to stay y and x. Okay, so this is going to stay where it is, this is going to stay where it is, everything else is going to become a number. M comes from what we just calculated. The x1 and the y1 come from either one of these points, and we're actually going to do both just to prove that it's going to give us the exact same answer. So let's start with point A. So the first y stays as y. The y1 is going to be the y value of point A, which is 2. M is negative 3 on 2. X stays as x. And the x1 comes from the x-coordinate of the first point, which is minus 1. Step 3 is just isolating the y, so I need to get rid of the brackets, I need to get rid of fractions, probably I need to get just the y by itself. First thing I'm going to do is BEDMAS, so inside the brackets, what can I do with this minus minus? Make it a positive, so I'm going to keep everything else the same. And I'm just going to turn that into a plus 1. The second step I want to deal with is division by 2. What's the opposite of dividing something by 2? Multiplying. So what's going to happen is I'm just multiplying them up to the other side. So I get 2 times y minus 2, and then leaving the negative 3 and the x plus 1. Now it's just distribution on each side. 2 times y is 2y. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. This is the y that I want by itself, so I'm going to start by getting rid of the negative 4. What's the opposite of subtracting 4? Adding 4. So on this side, when I come and add 4, I've got a minus 3. That's going to give me plus 1. How do I get rid of a coefficient of 2? Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. So we get y is negative 3 on 2x plus a half. That's the equation of the line that passes through the point 1, negative 2, and 3, negative 4. What's nice is we've got a built-in check because what's the m value in our equation? Negative 3 on 2. And what did we say the m value was in step 1? Negative 3 or 2. So if you've got different m values, you've done something wrong. We're going to do the exact same work. We're just going to use the other point. Just to show you it doesn't matter which point you use, we're going to get the same equation in the end. So this time we're going to use point B. So the y stays where it is. y1 is going to come from the negative 4 in point B. The slope is still negative 3 halves. X stays where it is. And the x1 comes from the negative 3 in point B. And this is where it's kind of cool because you're like, well, these are completely different numbers. How is this going to give me the exact same thing? Watch what's going to happen. First thing I'm going to deal with the negative, negative. Negative and negative becomes positive. So on the left, I've got y plus 4, and I'm not going to touch the right-hand side yet. How do I get rid of a division by 2? Multiply, so he's going to come over to the left-hand side, so I'm going to have 2 times y plus 4. And on the right, I've got the negative 3 and the x minus 3. Now I'm going to distribute to get rid of the brackets, just like on the other side. So 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 4 is plus 8. On the other side, negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Again, it's like totally different numbers. How is this going to happen? What's the opposite of adding 8? Subtracting 8. So I have 2y left on the left. And on the right, I've got negative 3x. And then I have negative 8 plus 9, which is plus 1. How do I get rid of a coefficient of 2? Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide. Oh, look what's happening here. Negative 3 on 2x plus a half. You don't have to do both. I was just showing you for the first example. It doesn't matter whether you use the first point or the second point. They both give you the exact same equation in the end, as they should. If they didn't, we've done something terribly wrong. Step 1 is finding slope. Step 2 is using that new formula from today. Step 3 is isolating y. That's it every single time. Example 2. This time we've got the points negative 2, 1 and 5, 6. Now we don't normally start with the diagram. I just want to show for the visual people what are we trying to find here. So what I'm just going to do is plot those 2 points. This is where graph stickies would come in handy. And so we have the point negative 2, positive 1. And we have the point 5 and 6. And the question's asking is, what's the equation that makes this line between them? And we know there's only one equation that's going to do that line if we wanted to graph it. That's what we're trying to find. You don't need to draw a graph. I'm just showing you for this one, this is what the question is asking, is what's the equation of that line? Okay, step 1 is finding m. What's the formula for m? Perfect. Over x2 minus x1. The second y value is 6. The first y value is, or the first one, sorry, is 1. Second x value. And the first x value. Again, we simplify the top, then we simplify the bottom, then we simplify the fraction if we can. On the top, we have 6 minus 1. On the bottom, 5 minus 2, 7. Can I reduce 5/7? No, so we just leave it. There's step 1, finding slope. That's what you did last Thursday. So nothing new in that point. We're just now using it to do something. Step 2 is the new formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Numbers need to go in for y1, m, and x1. Everything else is going to stay exactly where it is. Those numbers come from either one of the 2 points and the slope that we just found. Do you want to use the first point or do you want to use the second point? First point, okay? So the y value of the first point is 1. M we just found is 5/7. And the x value of the first point is negative 2. This now looks a lot like the first example. We did 2 of them because we did both points. Same steps here. What we did first was this negative, negative, which becomes positive. Then we dealt with the denominator of the fraction. What's the opposite of dividing by 7? Multiplying, so he goes up to the other side. Then we distributed on each side to get rid of the brackets. 7 times y is 7y. 7 times minus 1 is minus 7. 5 times x is 5x. 5 plus times 2 is 10. Now we want to get the y by itself, which we've now done this 30 times. If you've done all the homework, it's the same steps every time. We start with the furthest from the y. What's the opposite of subtracting 7? Adding 7. Ten plus 7 is 17. How do we get rid of a coefficient of y? Divide by 7. I meant of 7. Divide by 7. Divide by 7. Can I reduce 5 on 7? Nope, we just leave it. Can I reduce 17 on 7? Nope, we just leave it. There's the equation of the line passing through those 2 points. Check. Your m here has to match your m in step number 1. If they're not the same, you've done something wrong. Do we have the same m value? Yes, we do. Sorry? Do you see a similarity between 1 and 2? The nice thing about these is the same 3 steps every time. Step 1 is find m. Step 2, equation of the line formula. Step 3, isolate y. Yep, just leave it. Now example 3, they try to get tricky. They give you this point negative 4, 1, but then instead of giving you a second point, they just give you an x-intercept. That's one. Well, don't let them fool you. This is a point. They're just sneakily not giving you the y value. What do you know the y value is at the x-intercept? It's 0. So this is just the point 5, 0. Okay, so sometimes they'll try to slip that in like, what? X-intercept? It's just a point. Find a friend, go through the 3 steps, get the equation of the line. Who got it? Negative 1/9 x plus 5/9. High five to you guys. If you didn't, it can be something simple as just missing a negative. It could be you mixed up your x's and your y's. Questions? Read the next example. This is as tricky as they're going to get. It doesn't even look like they've given us any points. They've given us an x-intercept of negative 8 and a slope of negative 3/4. Well, again, we just talked in the last example. This is a point. It's just a little bit hidden, but what are the coordinates of this point? Negative 8 and 0. Problem is we don't have a second point. Well, this is step 1. So you don't need to find m because they've given it to you. Okay, so sometimes they'll be a little tricky, and really they've taken away a whole step for you. So if you already have slope, you're jumping right to step 2, which is that y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We only have one point to choose from, so we're going to choose the negative 8, 0. So y minus 0. M comes right from what they gave us, so negative 3/4, x minus minus 8. Okay, so if they've given you the slope, you skip step 1, you go right into step 2. At this point, step 3, the simplification, we've done this a few times now. What are we going to simplify first? The negative negative is, okay, if you're lazy, there's how you can skip writing out the whole step again. I just crossed it out and put a plus. What did we do in the next step? We grab the 4 and put it to the other side. What did we do in the next step? Distributed, so 4 times y, 4y, 0 doesn't matter. On the right-hand side, negative 3x minus 24. And then the last step is always divide by the coefficient, so divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. It could be, yeah, sometimes. It's generally not, but you would just divide by the negative, so just take it with it. Can I reduce 3/4, negative 3/4? Nope, so we just leave it as it is. Can I reduce negative 24 over 4?
Yes.
Minus 6. Built-in check. Look at the slope they gave us. Look at the slope we have. Are they the same?
Yes.
Show me your thumbs so far. Getting it? Good. Find a friend. Next 2 examples. I'll give you about 6 minutes, then we'll correct.